On a warm afternoon in May 1792, 24 men stood beneath a buttonwood tree on Wall Street, their shoes pressing into the dirt road that still smelled faintly of the sea from the nearby harbor. There was no grand announcement, no ceremony, just ink, parchment, and a quiet handshake that would shape the financial future of an entire nation. These men, mostly merchants and brokers, were tired of chaos, the endless shouting, the rumors, the unregulated deals that often ended in ruin. America was young then, barely finding its footing after independence, and its financial system was even younger. Bonds were traded in coffee houses, and trust was something you earned only through reputation. But these men wanted order, structure, and a market that could be trusted. So, under that tree, they signed what became known as the Buttonwood Agreement, the humble beginning of the New York Stock Exchange. They agreed to trade only with one another and to set fixed commissions. It was simple but revolutionary, and in that simplicity lay the foundation of modern finance. Back then, Wall Street wasn't lined with skyscrapers. It was a narrow street where horses and carts passed, where brokers yelled across taverns and made deals over mugs of ale. The idea of an organized exchange seemed ambitious, even unnecessary to some. But America was changing. The government was issuing bonds to pay off war debts, and Alexander Hamilton, the first Secretary of the Treasury, had convinced Congress to assume the state's debts and establish a national bank. People were beginning to see that wealth wasn't just gold or land. It could be something invisible, like confidence, trust, or a signature on paper. That realization changed everything. Within a few years, trading moved from the open air into rented rooms, and by 1817, the group drafted a formal constitution, renaming themselves the New York Stock and Exchange Board. They borrowed ideas from the London Stock Exchange, but built their own system suited to American ambition, open, hungry, and fast. It wasn't glamorous. The rooms were crowded, noisy, and hot, with men in wool coats waving slips of paper and shouting bids. But it worked. Slowly, trust grew. Investors came from other states. Merchants began to see Wall Street not as a gamble, but as a place where dreams could be funded. Railroads, factories, canals, all powered by capital. America's industrial rise began right there, on that narrow street, where paper and promises turned into steel and steam. Still, it wasn't all clean business. In the mid-1800s, corruption and speculation ran wild. There were no regulations, no SEC, no safety nets. Scandals erupted, fortunes vanished overnight, and yet the market kept going. Each crash taught a lesson, each recovery built resilience. It was human nature on display, greed and hope, fear and confidence constantly colliding. And out of that chaos, discipline slowly emerged. By the late 19th century, the exchange had a permanent home at 11 Wall Street, a marble symbol of American capitalism. The famous opening bell, introduced in the late 1800s, turned what was once a messy marketplace into something ceremonial, almost sacred. Every ring marked the start of opportunity. People from all walks of life, immigrants, dreamers, risk-takers, looked to that bell as the heartbeat of progress. When electricity illuminated the trading floor and telegraphs connected Wall Street to the rest of the country, speed became the new currency. Stocks could now be traded in seconds instead of hours, and with that came both power and danger. The 1920s roared with optimism. Everyone seemed to be investing. Ordinary workers bought stocks on margin, believing the market would never fall. Then, in 1929, it did, spectacularly. The crash shattered confidence and threw millions into despair. Yet, even as America reeled from the Great Depression, the exchange didn't die. It evolved. New regulations were introduced, the Securities and Exchange Commission was born, and transparency became the new foundation. The exchange had learned that trust, once broken, takes generations to rebuild. Through wars, recessions, and technological revolutions, the New York Stock Exchange remained the center of financial gravity. The tickers changed from paper to screens, the shouting traders became algorithms, but the spirit stayed the same: ambition, risk, and the belief that tomorrow could be more prosperous than today. Every company listed on that floor, from General Electric to Apple, carried a piece of that 1792 dream. The exchange became more than a marketplace. It became a mirror of America itself, its highs, lows, resilience, and reinvention. And while most people today never see the trading floor, they feel its pulse in every paycheck, every retirement plan, every investment app on their phone. The same tree where those 24 men once stood is gone, but the idea that grew beneath its branches still stands, stronger, faster, and more global than ever. What began as an agreement among a handful of brokers became a system that fuels the world's largest economy. It's easy to look at the flashing numbers and forget the human story behind them, the risk-takers who dared to organize chaos into order. Their vision turned Wall Street from a dirt path into a symbol of opportunity. And even today, every trade still carries a trace of that promise made centuries ago, that if people can come together under trust and discipline, they can build something that lasts beyond themselves. In a world that changes by the second, that truth remains timeless. Because markets, at their core, are not about money. They're about belief. And belief, when organized, can move the world. So, the next time you hear that opening bell ring, remember, it all started beneath a tree, with ink, courage, and a simple idea that would never die. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to subscribe for more fascinating insights into the history of finance and the moments that shaped our world.